Here I am at the space we rented to build our veterinary clinic, and here we have a stop work order issued by the city because construction were being doing here without the right permits. This is very sad because we were presented with permits from the contractor Matthew Dwarika. Matthew Dwarika works under the company MR Ironworks, and the owner of this company, which apparently it's Matthew partner, it's Ronald Ramnauth. Unfortunately, the permits that they presented were not the right permits to construct here, so now we're dealing with fix this problem. I'm gonna get into the space because I wanted to show you a couple of things that we've been facing with this contractor named Matthew. Matthew Dwarika was hired for the owner or landlord of this space to do some construction here. He was hired by him before we entered to the space, and when we had the pleasure to visit this space, Matthew was doing work here with two employees. One was Andy and the other one was Andrew. When we been here, a lot of work was already happening here. One of the work that were already here when we rent the space is these walls. These walls were already framed, and also the ceiling was already framed as well, and some lights were installed in this area before we had the pleasure to rent this space. We rent this space on May 15, dated the contract on May 1st, and since then we've been waiting for Matthew to do and finish landlord job. A landlord job was a very simple things that needs to be done before we were able to take over this space and then start our construction logistic to then be accountable for our 3-month period of grace to start paying rent. Since we rented the space, one of the logistics that were between landlord's job was the fact that we need to insulate the floors because the nature of our business require to have insulation on ceilings, also floors and walls, because we are gonna construct an veterinary clinic. We give Matthew Dwarika a wire from our bank account with Bank of America money for the insulation. He bought some materials. We gave him $7,500 to do this job, and he was supposed to start doing everything after May 21, when we gave the money that he needed to finish landlord job. However, Matthew never do any job in this space. As you can see, the space is still raw. Walls were not turning down the way they supposed to. Like this bathroom is also on shelf. That was also landlord's construction or part of landlord's job. Also ceilings needs to be framed, and light needs to be installed, as well as some electrical work in these premises, but nothing had happened. We tried our best to inform landlord what was going on here, but all of our inquiries and our concern were put aside because they were under the impression that Matthew needed more money from us, and also they were under the impression that construction was in fact going on here because they knew that we will need to pay rent soon. Then we provide Matthew with the plans on June, and we let him know that he needs to hurry up, that now after he got the plans, he don't have any excuse to keep working and finish landlord job because he need everything in his, he had everything that he needs to do landlord job. Unfortunately, nothing never happened, and we decided to go ahead and put him to do a quote for us to figure out if he can also do the job for us here, because we really realized that because none John was happen here, any type of work was happening here, we probably would be on a better position if we hired him. But we put some other constructor to quote for us. Matthew wasn't the cheapest one, however, even though Matthew wasn't the cheapest one, we felt the need to hire him just because was near to be July, and we needed to have this place done to open business in September. Today is August 17, 2013, but nothing was done. When we realized that there was any progress after Matthew was hired for us, we felt the need to communicate the landlord to figure it out if landlord was aware of what's happening here, because one of the reasons that Matthew Dwarika provide us for not being able to do the job, among a lot of excuses, was the fact that they were inventory here in my space from another tenant that needs to be removed, but he doesn't have the proper authorization to remove that. That things that I'm talking were placed here. Apparently they been removed someday after August 15, which was the last video that I record in this space. However, because we needed to make a clearance for our HVAC constructor being able to install his HVAC equipment, which is this piece of equipment that is here that connect to the big a console outside, we need to pay him to clear this space, because this space was littered and cluttered with a lot of equipment almost to this entrance, almost close to this entrance. All the things that we take out from here, we put it here. They still here. One of is this glass panels, and the rest of the inventory of this tenant is here. So these things still being in the middle on my way to do any construction here. The sad part about it is that when we try to inform this to the landlord, who was on Thursday, when we come on Saturday, we realized that we got stopped working because this contractor was doing a job here without have the proper permits, even though they show us some permits that I had in my possession that after I went to the expediter weren't in any way related to this construction. So I am going to document a couple of things that Matthew Dwarika, beside the fact that he didn't do what landlords needed and I needed him to do, he's doing wrong. One of the things is that he built these walls or these wall frames, and he did it on Friday afternoon, right before we wrote an email letting everybody know that we were very concerned. And he do it, I think, on a very desperate, on a very desperate movement, because he built this frame and he forgot that the plans, my floor plan says that he needed to have here two layers of plywood, but he didn't go through with this requirement, and he built this just to show off that something was really happening here. However, it's very sad for me to say that, do you see this hole? This hole, I have it on a video because I touched this wood frames and they fell. This is one of them. As you can see, if I move them, they movable. They are not proper installed. They don't have any type of like a claw or screwdriver, nothing, because he did it wrong, just because he wanted to show off. On top of that, because he does this on a better desperate like way just to show off, he missed to frame some of the beans with wooden, because every beans, as you see, have some type of wooden attached in order to make the ceiling even, to then do construction. But this one was missing in one point of the construction. He's explaining us why, but then they decided to go forward and do all these walls that now are in the middle of this beam that is not done. On top of that, we paid him to do insulation on the space, but the insulation work that he does is very like, it's wrong, is not installed here. You can see that you have insulation here, but here you don't have, there's no insulation here. And here, there's very little insulation, and here it's any at all non-insulation whatsoever. But this is covered already with this panel that is already like on the way with this wall. So I don't know what he's gonna do, but I guess that he will need to take the walls down in order to fix the insulation. Also, if I keep walking, there you can see that there's part of the insulation that they are not properly installed. But again, you can see that there's as well other areas of the floor, like this one, that have non-insulation whatsoever. Here is insulation, here is no insulation. And this is also trapped already with the panel that is trapped with this wall or wall frame that he does. So I'm guessing, you know, if this is the parts that I can see, what could be happening really underneath these panels that are already built on the space, even though they're like fake, they're like they're no for real. This is the wooden stick that used to be right here in the middle of these two joints, and this is the mark. Let me show you. This is the mark that, you know, show that this wall was here, but the last time I took a video, it just fall. It just went into the floor. So this is, you know, a couple of things that are been happening here. On top of that, that he does this, you know, completely wrong. He should have installed in this room some double plywood layer, and as well, this area needs some walls of lead, because this is gonna be the X-ray room, and he didn't follow through with the measurement that requires to really frame this wall. On top of that, if we come to this area, we are gonna be able to see that he said that he insulated this area, but he never shows really the way we asked him to. And we really don't know. We can guess. I made a hole, but still you can see that there's like a lot of things that are not being done. He ran plumbing for us in the space, even though the plumbing wasn't supposed to be running, because he needs to do landlord's job first. But he ran the plumbing. And he missed a couple of plumbings in the space. This situation is being unfortunate because this guy didn't wanted to, like, it's been, you know, showing just like he is very careless and very unprofessional with the deliveries that he is being providing us to the space by far. plus the fact that the landlord job is not done at all, and now we are on a very uncomfortable situation with landlord, because landlord were under the impression, of course, and I don't blame them, that they should be bad right now collecting rent.